Well, soft plastics fishing, it's become that little bit of a craze. In fact, it's really taken off over the last few years. So what I thought I'd do is take you through on where to start. And especially if you're a bait fisherman, I know that you can get pretty curious about all these guys catching all these big fish on soft plastics. Well, the fact is they do work. They've really designed rods these days specifically for soft plastics fishing, and your bait rods, well, for fishing with bait. So where I've started, this is the exact first soft plastics outfit that I actually used. This is a Sparnon Stratic 2.5 size. This rod, it's a Berkeley drop shot, and it's 6 foot 8 inches and 3 to 5 kilo. And what I've spooled it with is there's actually braid underneath this, and the braid line, it's about 8 pound. And this, well, this is about a 10 pound fluorocarbon leader. So what I've done is I've top shotted it with about 50 meters, but most people, they just use braid and they put on maybe a rod or 2 rod lengths worth of fluorocarbon leader. Now this here, very, very basic, not that expensive, but it does the job for me. Now this is a 2000 size reel, and this is my own personal setup that I like to use for finesse fishing. Everything's really, really light on it. This is a Fluga Trion. It's high modulus graphite, so super, super sensitive. And I'll tell you what, you can feel every single bite. And the great thing is cork grips. So if there's vibration, it heads straight through the blank and straight through these, the cork grips, so you can feel every little bump and take. And I love using all kinds of lures on this one, especially for that brim fishing when they're a little bit tough. But at least it gives you a guide. Now make sure you do head down to your tackle shop and have a chat with the experts. Tell them what fish you're chasing and they'll put you in the right direction for selecting the right gear. So that's where you get started with soft plastics fishing. Next, let's have a look how you actually tie on a jig head and put on a plastic. So let's tie on a jig head, and we'll do it from a POV so it's a little bit easier for you guys to see. So here's the end of my fluorocarbon leader. All we're going to do is tie a granny knot. Simple, but we're not going to pull it super tight. So just leave that loop in there so you can see it like that. Really easy. Then I'm going to grab a jig head and then place that line straight through the jig head. Simple. And then what we'll do is we'll put the end of that line through that loop. There you go, and that's what you'll get. That's exactly what it'll look like. So it'll look like an A, basically. And then we'll just pull that up tight a little bit. And then we're going to twist this line around your leader. So there you go. So I'll probably go 1, 2, we'll just do 3, but you can do 4, 5, it's okay. And then there's a little A there. So a little A, straight through. That's it, grab it and just pull that tight. Okay, I'm just going to wet this line so I can actually pull it properly tight. So, and there you go. Simple as that. So you can see the loop in there. So that'll move freely around the loop when you've got that plastic on. Now, let's just trim the end of it. Always test it out, make sure it doesn't pull through. So there's the loop. Next thing, in comes the plastic. Now, first thing you can do to make it nice and easy is sort of estimate where that hook is going to pop out the back of your plastic. So if you just hold it alongside like that, you can see that it'll pop out around about there. So what we do, hook point straight in, and keep your fingers up this end. Don't go like this, because you do that, it will bend and it won't sit on that jig head really well at all. So we'll just point that through once and straight out the back where you estimated it would come out, and then just in one move, push that on. That's it. So you can see that's popped right out there like that, and you can see, look at that. That's super straight. So if it's super straight, its action will be nice and even, and it'll do exactly what it's supposed to do. So you can see that, that's perfectly straight. Well, I'm going to take this rod, head down to a little spot just around the corner from my house, go through a couple of techniques on actually casting soft plastics, and you never know, we might get lucky. So I've got my soft plastic outfit set up, 2 500 reel, 3 to 5 kilo rod. I've got a fluorocarbon leader, soft plastic sitting on there. I'm ready to cast. Now techniques, you've got the slow roll, which means just retrieving that soft plastic with a slow wind, or you've got a fast burn, just fast retrieve, or you've got a flick and twitch, which means casting it straight out, letting it hit the bottom, a couple of big flicks up in the air, and then letting it hit the bottom again. So basically it's in this kind of pattern all the way through the water column, and that's probably the number one I would pick. And then you've got the side cast technique, so if you need to get under trees, you can actually flick your rod to the side. You can even bounce your plastics on certain plastics. They're the ones generally with the paddle tails. You can actually bounce them across the water to get them underneath the trees or underneath pontoons. It's pretty cool to watch. I generally cast up current, so the current's now heading from my left to my right, so I'm going to cast out to my left. Now that just means that the soft plastic can actually go down naturally to the bottom rather than fight against the current. So we'll cast this out, up current, lock her up. Now this line is straight. As soon as that hits the bottom, a loop will form in that line. It's just hit the bottom then. You can see that loop. Give it a couple of twitches, straighten your rod up, look for exactly the same thing. It's just hit the bottom again. So that's how you can tell. Basically, what you've got to get used to doing is actually watching your line. Because when a fish hits your line, you will actually see your leader move and your line move. The one thing I like to do is when using plastics is always moving around. So I'll cast out my soft plastic in one spot. I'll have maybe 2 or 3 casts over to my left, and then I'll move further down, maybe 5 meters, and have a few more casts. So what I'm doing is I'm covering a wide area. So the flathead, if they're sitting in one spot and you're not hitting them there, they could be over in another spot. Eventually you'll cast on top of them. Oh. Whew. He just, I just got to follow then by a, it looked like a little barracuda or something. And if you're using 6 pound like I did, he's absolutely just bitten straight through it, and he's taken the whole thing. But hey, that was pretty cool to look at. That was fun. He was a nice fish too.
Hooked on CoastfishTV? Check us out on Facebook, Instagram, or subscribe to us on YouTube so you don't miss a thing.